Good morning, everybody. I am Vedant Agarwal, a first year student currently pursuing B.tech in CSE branch from ABESIT Ghaziabad. Today, I am here to tell you all about the increasing trend and craziness among youth to become budding entrepreneurs of country, which we commonly call as Startup India. Startup India, developing our nation. There is a very famous quote you may all heard about. If you want to shine like a sun, first burn like a sun. By our honorable ex-Prime Minister and common and famously known as Rocket Man of India, APJ Abdul Kalam sir. You all know if you want to achieve something in life, if you want to achieve success, you have to do the effort, you have to do the work for it. So now let's start our presentation. Startup India, developing our nation. In this presentation, I am going to tell you about what is startup and how the startup ecosystem works. Why is startup needed in our country, especially in our country, or I can say in a country like India, which is currently in its developing phase. What is the Startup India scheme started by our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi? The facts and some figures of how many startups are emerged in past few years. Common challenges faced by startups in a country like India. From where these startups can gain finance and capital to empower their industry. Some famous examples of startups which are emerged from our country only. And lastly, the conclusion of this presentation. First of all, we should learn that in August 2015, our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi announced the launch of National Flagship Initiative Startup India. This was a scheme he launched with a motive to promote and mandate young entrepreneurs of our country with the following action plan in their mind, and that is simplification and handholding to funding and incentives to industry partnership. To be more clear, simplification and handholding. Simplification and handholding basically means the need of the business, the analyzation of business, industry in a country like India, where there is such a need of production management and involvement of youth, of young minds in manufacturing sector. Then we come to funding and incentives. First, the idea is clear, the plan is clear. Then we see what may be the funding and incentives and from where a bud entrepreneur could get them. And lastly, industry partnership and relations. It's basically the relations of that particular startup with various big industries. Our Prime Minister was envisioned with the aim to transform India into a startup nation and that will be a country of job creators instead of job seekers. That is, to be more clear, I should say that a country where you create job instead of seeking or begging for these such jobs. Now, what is startup and its ecosystem? Startup ecosystem contains various stages like support organizations. Support organizations are those organizations which support in the first or initial phase of our startup. Their support may be in like mentorship or like finance and market capital and etc. These are basically by big companies which have gained enough power or which are empowered in this field so that they can carry our startup to next level where we can empower it ourselves. Funding organizations which give us fund and capital to start the startup and take it to the next phase. Then comes the service providers. These are also our helpers, and we and they provide their service, their particular service in our startup, so that we can complete the particular task. And then research organizations, where they can do research on our startups, and that ideas and research, various stages, entrepreneurs, investors and mentors, advisors, team members. These are all responsible for a successful startup. First, you should have the idea, the correct research of market and business, which is going to bloom and which is going to abandoned by the common people. Various stages, the various stages of a startup, which you should keep in mind. Then entrepreneurs, these that is you, the entrepreneur of the company. You should also seek advice. You should also see the interviews of famous mentors. There should be someone who constantly mentor you for your startup. Then comes the investors, which invest in your startup, which invest in your company, so that they could gain some profit, and you can take your startup to the next phase. Advisors, which advises us to how to do this, how to do that, how to exceed this limit, etc. And then our responsible team members, which are most efficient in this system. These are most efficient in the system. They help us in various stages and provide their particular services. Now, why is startup? What is the need of startup? See, in a country like India, you have various reasons to justify this question. Some are given here, that is to boost up involvement in manufacturing sector. As I told you, in a country like India, the involvement in manufacturing sector is too low, is very low till now. Our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi has had this motive in mind, to involve the youth of country in manufacturing sector. The maximum involvement from our country in service sector, in providing services to other manufacturing companies and to customers. But we have to increase our involvement in manufacturing and product management company, in manufacturing sectors, to generate maximum employment. If we own a company, of course we can generate an employment. Of course we can generate many opportunities of employment. We can be job creator, and thus employment is created. Encourage people who have potential to innovate. We should encourage the people, we should encourage our fellow team members who we know who have the potential to innovate. They can innovate, they are innovative mind, they have innovative minds. So we have to, and we should encourage them to boost up banking and finance sector, and to come up with more job providers rather than job keepers, as I have told you. StartUp-India scheme. This scheme was started in August 2015 by our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi. Under this scheme, there is compliance under 9 environmental and labor laws. You could get compliance under 9 environment and labor laws to set up your startup or company. Tax exemption for a period of 3 consecutive years, and exemptions on gains and investments above FMB. You could get tax exemption for a period of 3 consecutive years, and also exemptions on gains and investments. Up to 80% rebate in filing patents. If you are going to file any patent, you could get rebate 80%, and 50% rebate on trademark filing with no facilitation cost. See, this facilitation cost is totally on government. Exemption from money deposit in government tenders. 10,000 crore startup funding pool. The government has arranged the 10,000 crore startup funding pool to innovate this scheme, to involve more and more minds in this scheme. Encourage entrepreneurship and promote India across world as startup hub. See, this is the basic idea, basic aim of Shri PM Modi, to encourage entrepreneurship and promote India across the world as startup hub. Now some facts and figures. See, over 800 startups were reported from past years from these dark marked states, that is Gujarat, Maharashtra, Karnataka, and Uttar Pradesh. These four to five states have reported over 800 startups in past years, and sorry, these states like this and this, Uttar Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, and Jharkhand got between 300 to 800 startups. The lowest states were the Northeast India and the extreme North India, that is Himalayan region, Himachal Pradesh, Punjab, Kashmir, and Northeast India, which have reported under 100 startups. See, so we can see that these states, these regions, these areas, people have to more and more encourage themselves in setting up startups. Because not only they are setting up for their own sake, but also they are creating job opportunities, they are creating employment in these regions, and that is the most important point for us all. According to Startup India Hub, 2,90,586 startups have been registered in past years, with 15,301 running till date successfully, and from which 129 startups are funded from various big organizations and companies. Now, challenges faced by startup. See, these are some common challenges faced by startup in a country like India. That is lack of innovation. People don't have innovative minds. Planning and execution, they do not plan correctly, they do not plan accordingly, if they plan, they do not execute it accordingly. Funding, most people do not know how and where they get funds for their startup, where could they get capitals from. So this is also one of the main reason of failing startup. Lack of mentorship, there is no one to mentor them, there is no one to advise them, there is no one to encourage them. Human resources, they do not have enough human resources. See, because this is the main reason, because most of the people with skills are involved in big companies, involved in big organizations. They hesitate to take a job from small companies, to start from such a low level. So lack of human resources, poor business cities and links. As we have seen in our previous slide, these northeast region, this Himalayan region, this mountainous region, and this Kashmir, Jammu Kashmir, they are not well connected to the rest of the India. They are not as well connected as states like Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Gujarat. They do not have enough technology. They do not have enough infrastructure, as we can say. They do not get electricity. Most areas are like that. They do not get internet facility properly. They have internet is banned from these regions. So these business cities are very poor to work in, and they do not have links to big cities. They have difficult to reach out. They are remote cities in such a way. So this is also one challenge faced by startups. Replication of foreign business models. See, this is the biggest challenge faced by startup. 90% of the failed startups that are reported are replication of foreign business models. They replicate the foreign businesses, the businesses from the west of the world, and they failed in a country like India. They think that if this business is doing well in foreign, is doing well in the west region, is uh, is very successful and gaining a lot of capital, so that it can also work in a country like India. But this is not true. In a country like India, there are various factors that govern this thing. There are factors like laws, taxes, and environment, atmosphere, people, mindsets, etc., etc. So, replication of foreign business model is not much successful in this country. So, if you are thinking, do not think original, think out of your mind. That is not, that should not be a replication of any other business model. Now, funding and capital. So those who don't know where this funding and capital come from to these startups, so that they can boost their startup and can go to next phase and gain capital and profits and all. These are some points which we should keep in mind to get funding and capital. Like, first is bootstrapping and or self-funding. Bootstrapping, also known as self-funding, is when we invest our money, our own money, in the startup, and in the return we get whole profit as our own only. In this, no involvement of some investor or any finance help or any loan. All the money is invested by us only, the entrepreneur only. Crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is a system uh, which you can also say a donation system. In crowdfunding, there are some websites that are related to it, where you can upload, you can you can upload your idea of your startup and your need of fund, and where you can get, and then you can get funding from those websites. Angel investors. Angel investors are the CEO or the big companies or big organizations like Tata India Limited, or Hindustan Unilever, or Mahindra and Mahindra. These big companies invest maximum in these small startups, because the only reason is they see potential in it. They see the potential that they can come up as a big company. And the two reasons are, first, they, of course, they see their profit, and second, the entrepreneur of that startup, the CEO of that startup could get help. Some famous, like a famous personality, Mr. Ratan Tata, he is an angel investor. He is proved to be an angel investor in many such startups in past recent years. Business incubators and accelerators. Business incubators and accelerators are also these. These are like some help. This is like a help from foreign investment and else. Government programs. Government launches various schemes for such startups, showing skills, showing the potential to grow up, like the one which PM Modi launched in August 2015. It stated that it had a funding pool of 10,000 crore rupees. See, that's a very big amount. 10,000 crore rupees. The 2015 budget was arranged such that the 10,000 crore rupees were for were for the were only for these such startups. And the last is loan and finance, which you all know, like apply for a loan in bank and you can get the capital from there. Now, let's take you to some famous examples of startups which are currently now a big organizations in our that emerged from our country and now reflecting worldwide. So first is Ola. As you all know, Ola, the biggest online taxi and cab aggregator in India today, competing with Uber. Uber, you all know, are very potential. So Ola was co-founded in 2010 by Bhavish Agarwal, who is currently the CEO of Ola. This was founded in Mumbai and raised angel funds from Snapdeal and Shaadi.com like organizations. See, now these Snapdeal and Shaadi.com are proved to be angel investors for Ola. This is now valued at US $5 billion. This is operated and are operational in about 85 Indian cities and currently aiming to operate in 220 cities in next 2 years. Now that's a huge amount, US $5 billion in just 10 years. Sorry. Second is Paytm. Paytm, you all know, you have Paytm on your mobile. Now in COVID time, you all pay digitally. Paytm was co-founded by Vijay Shekhar. First, Vijay launched 197 as a telecom software company. Later provided it to Paytm in 2009. And now its last year revenue was cost at 700 million US. Huge. We all know Paytm, we know it is huge. Now, Zomato, founded by Dipender Goyal. Now he is a true inspiration to all of us. We all love food, of course. Who don't love food? Sorry. So Dipender Goyal decided to give his hobby a digital push by uploading menus on a website, which later became popular. A very interesting story was he was very keen to design menus. He was very keen to design fusions. See, you can say this could be a hobby for Dipender, that he designed menus. So he and his some friend decided to push this passion digitally and upload their menus on some website, which later of course became very popular. It soon listed 1200 restaurants in New Delhi, only uploading menus on a website. Wow. It listed 1200 restaurants in Delhi and is now expanded to 22 countries worldwide. From 1200 restaurants in a state like New Delhi to 22 whole countries worldwide. Massive. This company is now valued at $1 billion. It is valued at $1 billion. So these proves to be, there are many examples which prove to be successful. These are only 3 big examples. So we conclude that Startup India intended to build a strong ecosystem for nurturing innovation among youth that will drive sustainable economic growth and generate large scale employment opportunities. As our PM said, that country should be filled with people of job creators rather than job seekers. Thank you very much, everyone. So this was Vedant Agarwal in front of you all, and thank you all.